Bleeding purple and gold from the heart of Los Angeles. This is the LakersNation.com podcast with your host, Trevor Lane.
Hey everybody, welcome to another show. Hopefully everything is going well in your world because we're going to be diving into the messy world of the Los Angeles Lakers. Things are never easy right now in Lakers land, but that's okay. It gives us a ton to talk about, ton to break down. So I'm going to dive into all of it. Plus I'm going to talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs and the NBA draft lottery, which is we're counting down the hours at this point. So I'm going to talk all about that. It's just me today, guys. You just have me and the microphone, so I'm going to be talking all about these things. Before I forget, we are, of course, powered by CLNS Media and LakersNation.com, your home for everything Lakers. And today's show is brought to you by BetOnline.ag. Head over to clnsmedia.com/LeBron. That lets them know that you came from us. And then punch in the promo code CLNS50 and you get 50% on your first deposit for the world of online gambling. We'll talk a bit more about that in a little while. But first, guys, quick breakdown of how this show is going to go. So first segment, I'm going to talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs. Again, we've seen some epic Game 7s. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about Kawhi Leonard. Talk about everything that we saw going on in the playoffs. Unfortunately, the Lakers aren't a part of them. Then I want to dig into some Lakers news in the second segment. We're going to talk about Frank Vogel being hired. We'll talk about Jason Kidd, Kurt Rambis, a shadow executive, if that exists. We'll talk about the protest rally and everything else and the Lakers' response to it. And then I'll talk a little bit about in the third segment, we'll talk a little about the Kyrie Irving rumor and dive into the NBA draft lottery and the Lakers odds. So that's where this is headed. Buckle up. Here we go. So playoffs, first of all, two epic Game 7s between the Denver Nuggets and Portland Trailblazers, and then Philadelphia 76ers and Toronto Raptors. You know, the Nuggets and Blazers, I ran an informal poll, which, I mean, every poll on Twitter is informal, but an informal poll on Twitter asking Lakers fans, because that's what my followers mostly are, who they preferred to see go through in each of these games. And Lakers fans got their wish because the overwhelming majority said they wanted to see Toronto defeat the 76ers and they wanted to see the Blazers defeat the Denver Nuggets. I think part of that is just there's this kind of tension brewing between the Lakers and the Nuggets. The last few years when they've played, there's always been some sort of strangeness going on. There's been this bad blood between the two teams. You think about Isaiah Thomas a couple seasons ago, kind of throwing the ball at Jamal Murray, which was epic, and Lakers fans loved it. And everything else that's gone on with them, there's bad blood. The whole Jamal Murray and Lonzo Ball thing doesn't help either. So there've been issues between them. So Lakers fans aren't typically Denver Nuggets fans right now. Even though you got to respect the way the Nuggets have played, I don't think Lakers fans were sad to see the Blazers actually fall or go through in this one and the Nuggets come up short. And of course, that was on their home floor. That's got to sting, but the Nuggets are still a very, very young team, and I'm sure they're going to bounce back. I was amazed by CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum goes off. Damian Lillard was looking tired, didn't quite have it, and we know that Dame, I mean, hey, when the game's on the line, it's Dame time. And he just didn't quite get it done, but it's okay because CJ was right there to carry the Blazers through. Really impressive, battling back from 17 down to get the win. Good stuff from the Portland Trailblazers. And then, my goodness, that moment, that Kawhi shot in the Toronto versus Philly game, that's going to live on forever. That's one of those moments that 20 years from now, we're going to be seeing highlights of that moment. That's what we're going to see. That's how incredible that was. For them to get that win, amazing stuff, especially when it looked like they had blown it. When Jimmy Butler came down the floor and scored on that layup to tie the game, we couldn't believe it. It looked like the Raptors were in control and they were about to blow it, and then Kawhi comes through in the clutch and bails them out. It bounced, 4 times, I think, on the rim before actually settling in. Amazing stuff. Kawhi Leonard had a big game for the Raptors. Did take a ton of shots, though. Fired up the ball like crazy with no conscience, but that's kind of what he needs to do on this Raptors team. So, speaking of Kawhi, what does this mean for the summer? If there's a number of teams, including the Lakers, that are going to have their eye on Kawhi Leonard, and they're hoping that things don't go too well for the Raptors and that he isn't convinced to stay there. Personally, I think, look, if it's not the Lakers, stay in Toronto. I think that's the best case scenario. If Kawhi is not going to go to the Lakers, I don't want him going to the Clippers. I don't want him going to any other West Coast team. If you're a Lakers fan, you want him just to stay out in the East, stay in Toronto, buy a big jacket, Kawhi, keep warm, and you can stay there. Okay, because we don't want Kawhi coming into the West because this guy is a monster. Now, 16 of 39 shooting from the field for 41 points. Efficiency is not great there, obviously, but small sample size. 2 of 9 from 3. But you know what? Tell you what, Kawhi hit that big shot when it mattered. Amazing, amazing stuff. And now we're heading into the conference finals, and I think, the Blazers are going to be a huge, huge underdog to the Golden State Warriors, even without Kevin Durant. We know KD is probably going to come back during this series. He's got that strained calf that, we were looking at thinking, okay, is this an Achilles injury? What is it? And relieved to find out that it was a strained calf. He's going to be coming back, but even without him, the Warriors have got to be the favorite here. Portland, you can't count them out. They play good team basketball. They play hard. They've got 2 guys who can both get hot and absolutely blow up in CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard, but I think the Warriors are just too much. Out east, though, who is taking this thing? Kawhi versus Giannis? It doesn't get much better than that. Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors against Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. It's going to be an incredible series. I can't wait for this one. It's going to be so much fun, and it's a total toss-up. I have no idea who's coming out ahead in this one. You've got Brook Lopez versus Marc Gasol, 2 big centers who are fairly crafty that both can step out behind the line. Of course, Brook Lopez is a bit more prolific from out there, but still, I think that's a great matchup. Giannis versus Kawhi. I can't wait to see those guys go head-to-head. I hope they get matched up at least a decent amount one-on-one because that's going to be intriguing. And then you've got, of course, Eric Bledsoe against Kyle Lowry. You've got both guys kind of play a somewhat similar style at the point guard spot. Going to be fascinating, going to be a great series, and can't wait to see that one play out. That's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know that either team can handle the Warriors. Look, if the Warriors are as banged up as they are right now, missing DeMarcus Cousins, missing Kevin Durant, if both those guys don't come back and they're not back by the finals, then I think the Raptors or the Bucks, whoever gets through, probably has a shot. But if the Warriors get their guys back, they get KD back, and we're even hearing that DeMarcus Cousins may be able to sneak back in. And if he does, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough to beat. It's hard to see a scenario in which the Warriors don't win a championship, but again, it's not a sure thing. That's for sure. This is probably the most wide open it's been in the last few years, where there isn't just that one dominant team that is going to win. And that's the Warriors. The Warriors are still dominant, and I think they're going to win, but they feel more vulnerable than they have in the past. And I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know if it's because of this, people think they're going to be breaking up. People think Kevin Durant is leaving. Is that playing a factor here? Is that playing a role here? I don't know. But regardless, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Excited about these NBA playoffs. All right, let's get to some Lakers stuff. Enough of the playoffs that the Lakers aren't in anyway. Let's talk about Lakers. So on the Lakers Nation show, which is on YouTube, you guys can go check it out. And I did my full breakdown there of Frank Vogel getting hired and what it means for the Lakers moving forward, what it means for the franchise, for the organization, all that. And remember, it's not just Frank Vogel, it's also Jason Kidd, who's been hired on to be an assistant coach. I know there's a lot of people that have very strong opinions on Jason Kidd, some very negative opinions out there on Jason Kidd, given his past and everything that's gone on, both on the court and as well as off of it, and we know that he's had some issues there. So if you want my full breakdown on that, I did a 10-minute show. It's up on YouTube, on the Lakers Nation YouTube channel. I go in depth into Jason Kidd and Frank Vogel and what this means for them. But for the Lakers' big picture, having this head coach in, now we can move forward. See, now we don't have to wonder anymore. Now it's not, hey, is it going to be Monty Williams? Is it going to be Ty Lue? Is it Juwan Howard? Is it Jason Kidd? Are they going to pick this guy, that guy, or someone else? It's none of those guys that we thought it was going to be for sure. We thought it was going to be either Monty Williams or Ty Lue. Turns out it's Frank Vogel. And look, the plan initially was to have Frank Vogel as one of Ty Lue's assistants. So you were going to have Ty Lue, you were going to have Frank Vogel, and Jason Kidd. That was the ideal scenario. And in that context, hiring just Frank Vogel and then Jason Kidd as an assistant and no Ty Lue might sting a little bit. Like, I get that where you think, gosh, I could have had, or the Lakers could have had all 3 of those guys. They could have all 3 of them working to develop young talent, working to bring LeBron to the next level, working to bring the team back into the playoffs. And instead, they're only going to have two of them, being Vogel and Kidd. And the two that they aren't the championship winning element of that. Ty Lue has actually won an NBA championship, but the Lakers apparently lowballed him, gave him a 3-year deal because they wanted to tether his contract to that of LeBron James. And Ty, not surprisingly, said thanks, but no thanks. I don't want that. He's been saying all along, or at least we've been hearing that he's been stressing that, look, I'm not LeBron's guy. I'm not LeBron's puppet. That's not what I am. I am my own man. I am my own coach, and I am not here to just serve LeBron James. That's not what he's all about. And to tether his contract to LeBron's by making it 3 years, that's suggesting that the organization doesn't have a whole lot of faith in him to stick around. And what we're hearing already is that Frank Vogel, he took the 3-year deal that Lue turned down. And we're hearing that Vogel may not even be the long-term coach of the Lakers. And you got to imagine, this is the one thing that I think that we're going to need to really keep an eye on. If you're Jason Kidd, and you guys know anything about Jason Kidd, and you know how opportunistic he is, and again, opportunistic is probably a nice way to put it. Okay, he has a bit of a negative reputation out there because he's tried to grab power in his last couple of stops. So if you are Frank Vogel, how comfortable are you with Jason Kidd on your bench, knowing that he, if the opportunity presents itself, is going to jump to become the Lakers head coach? He's going to do everything he can to make that happen. And that's, I'm assuming that's the case anyway, based on Kidd's history. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe Kidd falls into line. Maybe he's perfectly happy in the assistant role and sort of getting reintegrated back into the NBA. And that's something that he wants to do. Okay, but if you know anything about Kidd's history, it would seem very, very likely that he's going to be angling to get that head coach job sooner rather than later. And if the Lakers are looking at Vogel just as a stopgap and not a long-term guy, well, that could make for a little bit of tension, and it could make for a tough situation moving forward. Now, I will say this, though. Look, Frank Vogel, when he really made his name with the Pacers, he was kind of in a similar situation. He was seen as just the stopgap guy for the Pacers. He was just kind of brought in. He was replacing Jim O'Brien, and he was brought in just to sort of fill that role for a little bit. He had the interim tag. He stayed for 6 years because he did such a good job. This guy's a good coach. He's not the big name. He's not the big name that like Greg Popovich is or Pat Riley, even Eric Spoelstra now, right? Any of these guys, Phil Jackson. He's not that. Okay, he's not. And so in that way, I get where fans would be a little bit maybe disappointed. But still, Vogel is a good coach. He knows what he's doing, especially on the defensive end. He recognizes his shortcomings in the modern NBA. Where he struggled is on the offensive end. And so I'm really curious to see who else the Lakers add, because I don't know that Kidd is really the offensive mind that you want. Kidd, I think the relationship with Lonzo Ball is going to be interesting, because if you remember, heading into the draft, the 2017 draft, when the Lakers selected Lonzo Ball, the NBA comparison for Lonzo was Jason Kidd. People said he could be Jason Kidd-like because, look, Lonzo's tough to find an NBA comp, right? He plays a pretty unique style of basketball. But Jason Kidd was what a lot of people compared him to. And so I think that's going to be really interesting to see. How does Kidd interact with Lonzo Ball? Can he be that mentor? Can he be a positive influence on Lonzo? So that's going to be interesting. The Lakers front office, we've been hearing all about like this whole shadow exec issue where someone behind the scenes is kind of running things for the Lakers. And we're hearing more and more that this is probably Kurt Rambis that's been getting involved. We heard that Rambis was instrumental in nixing the deal with Ty Lue. We're hearing that both Kurt Rambis and Linda Rambis have been gaining power, gaining authority. And look, we've talked about this quite a bit. This is cause for concern. It really is. And I'm not saying that this is definitely going to turn out poorly. Okay, there's the possibility that Kurt Rambis comes in and he does a phenomenal job and everything works out well, and this isn't what it looks like on the outside, because right now it looks like Rob Pelinka is sliding into Magic Johnson's role and Kurt Rambis is sliding into Rob Pelinka's role as sort of the de facto general manager. I don't know. Look, Kurt Rambis hasn't had a lot of success. Okay, he hasn't had a lot of success aside from his playing days. And we'll love him for his time as a Laker. He was great. He was that role player that every team needs. You love the hustle. You love the goggles, the hair flying, all of that. We'll always remember Kurt Rambis in that role. And so I would never speak ill of him as a player or anything. But look, as a as an executive, as a coach in the NBA, he hasn't found that much success. This is another example of the Lakers circling the wagons and looking to within in order to fill vacancies. They don't cast that wide net. They don't go look for the best and brightest because they're so concerned with maintaining control and making sure that they keep this Lakers legacy alive, that they only find people who have purple and gold running through their veins and all of that. And look, that's not Frank Vogel. I get that. They're just hiring him on. But in terms of actually running the organization, they're trusting a guy like Rambis because his wife is really good friends with Jeannie Buss. I guess that's what we're looking at here. And again, I hope this doesn't blow up. It feels like things haven't been going well with this whole just strangeness. And maybe when they finally announce Vogel as their head coach, once the press conference takes place, maybe we'll get some answers then. Because Jeannie, Rob Pelinka, they haven't come out to say anything. They haven't issued any official statements on what's going on. And so that's let other people spin the narrative for what's happening. Other people are telling the story because Jeannie and Rob aren't. And I think that's a mistake on their part. Okay. But look, if Kurt Rambis is in that role, I want to see him successful. I'd like the Lakers to be successful. I grew up with this team. This is not me trying to be negative for the sake of being negative. Okay. I hope that Kurt Rambis, if he is in this role as the de facto general manager of the Lakers, I hope that he has tremendous success. I hope that he brings all of the talent that the Lakers need in, and the Lakers are able to make a run towards a championship. I hope that happens, and we can all say, you know what, we were worried about nothing, right? It ended up being nothing because Kurt Rambis, he was the guy that they needed in order to shake things up. I hope that's the case. It doesn't feel like that's where this is going, though. It feels like, and this is going to get really bad, if the Lakers don't land somebody this summer. Obviously, fans were already protesting. If the Lakers don't get one of the top free agents, things could take a turn for the worse. And I question what happens with LeBron then. How angry will LeBron James be at that point if Magic Johnson quits without telling him, without saying anything? And we know LeBron's not too happy with that. And then the Lakers spurn Ty Lue, who was LeBron's choice to be the coach. If there was going to be anybody, Ty Lue was the guy. He was the guy that LeBron wanted as the coach, and you cast him aside. You lowball him, and instead you bring in Frank Vogel. And look, LeBron may love Frank Vogel, and that's fine. Okay, but Ty Lue was his guy. That was his pick. So if you now have those two strikes against you with Magic Johnson and Ty Lue, and then you go into free agency and you don't get the job done, and suddenly LeBron's looking around at this Lakers team and he's going, well, this is pretty much the same team we had last season when we didn't make the playoffs. He's not going to be too pleased with that. He's not. Why? I mean, look, there's no way that he could be. He would have to be a little bit upset. And then what happens? Does LeBron start thinking about whether or not he's wasting his prime? Does LeBron start thinking about maybe going elsewhere? And look, I'm jumping way ahead here. And again, I don't want to be too negative, but that's really what's at stake here. That's what's going to happen this summer if the Lakers aren't able to come up big and land that other free agent. So tons of pressure on Rob Pelinka, Kurt Rambis, Linda Rambis, whoever else is calling shots in the Lakers organization, and ultimately Jeannie Buss, because it all rolls up to her, and it was her decision to stick with Rob Pelinka, despite his reputation around the league, to go with Kurt Rambis, and all of this. So again, my goodness, guys, so much riding on this summer. This is going to be an absolutely massive summer for these Lakers. All right, guys, quick break, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about this Kyrie Irving rumor that he may be looking for a reunion with LeBron James. And this quick break, guys, I need to talk about Bet Online. So the second season's underway, and now we've got the Warriors against the Blazers, and you've got the Raptors against the Bucks. Do you know who's going to win? Is your confidence high? Are you willing to place a wager and don't know where to start? Well, there's one place to get in on all the action. Grab the odds and allow the experts at betonline.ag to do the heavy lifting for you. Sports, live betting, virtual casino, you name it. betonline.ag is CLNS Media's preferred sportsbook online. If you're feeling lucky and would like to support our podcast, go to clnsmedia.com/LeBron. Again, that's how they know that you came from us. And you use the promo code CLNS50, you'll get a 50% sign-up bonus. Again, that promo code is CLNS50, betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. Okay, so the Kyrie thing. Brian Windhorst of ESPN a few days ago made a comment about Kyrie Irving, and that it's looking like it could be a real thing, that Kyrie could be looking to come back to the Lakers. We know his relationship with the Celtics has gone south. I mean, look, it was just back in October when Kyrie was telling a horde of Celtics fans that he was coming back, that he would be re-signing with the Celtics, that he's not going anywhere, and there was thunderous applause. Well, now it feels like Kyrie's not happy with Boston, and Boston isn't happy with Kyrie. There are people in Boston who are wanting to see Kyrie gone for a variety of reasons, from body language things and him not playing well and comments he's made and things like that. Okay, we also know Kyrie reached out to LeBron James this year. Okay, a few months ago, reached out to LeBron James and tried to bury the hatchet. Okay, saying, look, yes, we had our split when we were with the Cavaliers, and yes, things didn't work out there. But the bottom line is that when Kyrie was with Cleveland, LeBron was kind of the older guy, and Kyrie was the young kid who didn't really get the way the whole league worked, and didn't really get the power structure and all that. And he got frustrated with some things. And now Kyrie is messaging LeBron and saying, look, now I kind of get where you're coming from now that I'm the young kid. And so that's something that is interesting. Okay, now that Kyrie has been surrounded by the young kids, I should say, with the Celtics, he now understands where LeBron was coming from, and perhaps that's paving the way for a reunion with the Lakers. And Windhorst also mentions that Kyrie has actually talked to people about the possibility of joining the Lakers and what that means. So would this be a fit? Let's get into that. Would Kyrie fit with the Lakers? First of all, you're going to have to max him. You're going to have to give him a max deal. We're talking just over $30 million starting for Kyrie Irving. All right. Now, not a big deal. He's mid-20s, so no big deal there. That's fine. Okay, Kyrie isn't the best defensive player, but we know he also has probably the best handle in the NBA. Incredible there. Great three-point shooter. Can do a lot of really good things. But you already have a point guard in Lonzo Ball. And here's the thing, though. I think they can play together. Maybe it's not the perfect fit, but I think that Kyrie and Lonzo can indeed play together, because Lonzo Ball doesn't need the ball in his hands at all times. Look, yes, you want him to have the ball when he's in a fast break situation, when he is in transition and he's getting out and running, because that's Lonzo's game, right? Getting into transition. So you want Lonzo to have the ball in those situations, but in the half court, Lonzo kind of plays hot potato. He likes to kick the ball to his wings and let other people do things. He's not the kind of point guard that pounds the air out of the ball the entire time. That's not him. That's not the way he plays basketball. So I think it could work, and in particular it works because of Lonzo's size. He's 6'6", plays really great defense, and he can handle defending twos. He can handle defending shooting guards, no problem. And so I think that's where you can get away with running Kyrie and Lonzo together. And of course, you can split them a bit, and you can have them, one of them running the second unit. You can stagger the rotations and things like that. So I think that would work. Again, only one basketball. Kyrie and LeBron would have to share it. They would have to pick their spots. So that's something to consider as well. But as I've said before, beggars can't be choosers. And right now, if there's anything, it's looking more and more like the Lakers won't land another star this summer, at least given the negativity that's swirling around the franchise. And of course, we hope that's not the case. We hope they do land somebody. Ideally, it would be Kawhi Leonard. He'd be the guy to go after. But if Kyrie says, hey, I'm willing to sign, and other guys are not willing to do that, guys like Kyrie, guys like Kawhi, guys like Kevin Durant, players like that are saying, hey, we're not willing to come to the Lakers, you got to take them. Even if the fit isn't perfect, you've got to sign a superstar like Kyrie Irving. It smooths things over with LeBron James. It gives you a little bit more firepower. Worst case scenario, if you have to make a trade, he'll still be probably a decent contract moving forward. I think you got to make that move and go ahead and sign Kyrie. We'll see if it actually comes to fruition, but something to file away and something to consider as we inch closer to that July 1st free agent window when that opens up. Going to be an extremely important period for the Lakers. All right, I want to wrap up with the draft lottery. So the draft lottery is coming up Tuesday, 5:30, and your Los Angeles Lakers, if everything stays the way it is, the Lakers would have the 11th pick, right? That's where they finish. They would have the 11th pick in the draft, but they have a 9.4% chance of moving up into the top four and they have a 2% chance of getting Zion Williamson, which is what you need to get number 1 overall. So what should we be watching for on Tuesday? Well, ideally, you want to see the Lakers move into that top 4. Okay, if they move into the top 4, then you've really got something. Think about how much that changes things this summer if the Lakers move into the top 4. Because look, I think no matter what position they land in, they need to heavily consider trading that pick. Now, of course, it depends on what they get in return, but given where the Lakers are at this moment, they need to take a look at landing win-now pieces. And if there's a team out there that is willing to take the number 11 pick in exchange for a win-now player, the Lakers are going to have to consider it because they need to make their team look as strong as possible, not just for next season, but heading into free agency in July. If you go pick up somebody who's an impact piece by using this pick as a trade chip, you might then make it more likely for a guy like Kawhi or a guy like Kyrie to come and sign with you, knowing that now you've got a little bit of extra firepower. So I think that's important to note. And if they move to that top 4, that just makes that pick that much more valuable and that much more of a return. Now, if they get number 1, 2% chance, let's say the basketball gods smile upon the Lakers and they get the number 1 overall pick. First of all, the rest of the league would lose their minds, right? 29 other teams that have been celebrating the demise of the Lakers would be furious. I would be here for all of the conspiracy theories because fans would be going insane with them. You would be hearing about how the NBA is rigged. People would be swearing they will never watch basketball again. And it would be wonderful. It would be great. I can't even imagine how exciting that would be if the Lakers got the number 1 pick. I'm going to try to speak it into existence. Hopefully it happens, right? If they do, then you've got an interesting decision. Like, what if the Pelicans call the Lakers up and they say, hey, we'll give you Anthony Davis if you're willing to part with that number 1 pick? Then what do? I mean, look, Zion Williamson is projected to be the best talent since Anthony Davis coming into the draft. He's young. He's going to be locked up long-term on a team-friendly deal. But is any rookie really a sure thing? Anthony Davis is. We know for sure that Anthony Davis is a top 5 player. So do you make that move? I think that's going to be an interesting question if the Lakers do get that pick. Of course, most likely, 98% sure that they will not have to make that decision and will probably 91%, almost 91% sure that they will wind up with that 11th pick or worse potentially. So the Lakers most likely won't be in the top 4, but gosh, guys, any lucky charms that you have, anything you can do to kind of give the Lakers a little bit of extra luck. I've got lucky Lakers socks. I'm going to be wearing them because if they move up, that could really, really, really change things this summer because of the increased buying power that pick would give you on the trade market. If you get into that top 4, you could be looking at a serious talent coming your way in trade talks, or maybe the Lakers get wowed by one of the early draft picks and they decide to keep it and then land another core piece. That would be huge. So again, any lucky charms, anything that you've got, let's cash them in, and hopefully the Lakers can move up in the draft because that could really turn things around and finally get some positive momentum. We need it. The Lakers need it, right? You're looking at over the last, 4 weeks, right, since Magic Johnson quit? A little bit more than that. And ever since then, it's been one negative story after another. Jumping up in the draft lottery would be a positive story. Hopefully get that snowball rolling the other way and get some positive momentum for the Lakers for a change. Will be great to see. Again, hopefully you guys tune in and you're checking out the draft. Again, that's at 5:30 on Tuesday. All right, guys, that's going to wrap things up for me today. Appreciate all of you being here. Appreciate you listening. Guys, don't forget to go rate, review, and subscribe to this show. I do go in. I read all the reviews. I appreciate all of your comments. I really, really do. And so, yeah, if you guys could go in and give us a rating and review, I would certainly appreciate it. And, of course, don't forget to follow us on social media at Lakers Nation Official on Instagram, at Lakers Nation on Twitter and Facebook. And, of course, go check out the Lakers Nation YouTube page. We've just started up the Lakers Nation show. That's something that I'm hosting. It's been a lot of fun. So make sure you guys go check that out. We're still doing some Facebook Live talks on there. I'm coming on taking questions directly from all of you out there. It's a lot of fun. So make sure you guys are finding us in those places as well. All right. My name's Trevor Lane, guys. Follow me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. Till next time. See ya.